A Tale of a Muslim Girl and Her Infidel Lover. A novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This is an intriguing epic story which resonates with love, resilience, courage, and sacrifice. Before we dive into the tapestry of the story, I would like to inform the reader that this novel is narrated in 3 books. Book 2. The Muslim Apostate Girl and Her Christian Infidel Lover. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer, who may quote brief paragraphs for a review to be printed in a public newspaper, general magazine, school journal, or university article. This novel is a work of fiction, but the entire story is based on the real life of a Muslim girl in Sudan. All names, characters, places, and events are either the product of the author's imagination or used literary. Any resemblance to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is merely coincidental. Chapter 16. The Divine Intervention in Darfur. Leaving the detained beloved Dr. Ibtihal in that furnace of pandemonium, an inferno in Greece, and returning to her lover Dr. Samir in Sudan is something hard to do. On the other hand, leaving her fugitive Christian lover's life hanging between heavens and earth on the decision of those 4 elders who had nothing to do with the justice system was something difficult to do either. At least, Dr. Ibtihal was standing before a fair judicial system that appointed a lawyer to defend her case. What Dr. Samir was standing in front of were neither judges nor lawyers, but a group of African Sudanese elders who make their decision based on their bitter experiences with the so-called black Arabs of Darfur, who were called Janjaweed or demons on horses, and who today were euphemistically known as the Rapid Support Forces. The elderly man looked at the captive Arab man, and said to him angrily, "This is another Jalabi Wad Haram from the cursed Janjaweed." "I am not a Janjaweed," shouted Dr. Samir, fearing that someone might shoot him after the elderly man declared that he was one of their bitter enemies. "You may not be a Janjaweed, but you are one of those coward Arabs of the north who set them against us. Our brave boys, take this accursed Jalabi man out of the village, and kill him in the wilderness. Don't bury his filthy body. Let the worms consume it. Sir, I am not even an Arab Sudanese man. My father is a Christian from the south of Sudan, and my mother is a Coptic Christian from Egypt." Dr. Samir began to plead for his life, when he felt 2 boys catch hold of his shoulders and began to drag him backward. "Wait, my brave boys," shouted the elderly man when he heard the words of the captive man. "If you are a Christian man, why have you then interfered between Sudanese Muslims fighting against each other? Did the United Nations appoint you a judge over us, or the USA had sent you to spy on Africans and Arabs fighting one another? Father, I am neither a judge nor a spy. I am a medical doctor. I had been employed by the UN office in Khartoum to work among the injured for people. The Janjaweed attacked our medical clinic and burned it down. I managed to escape on the back of a donkey. Some camel men met me while I was returning to the city and attacked me. They beat me and robbed everything I had on me and stolen my donkey too. After that, they left me lying half dead in the wilderness. I am alive now because of your good Darfurian boys who found me half-dead body and rescued my life. Do you have any proof for your claim to be not one of those devils on horses whom we call Janjaweed?" "Yes, I had my identification documents while I was working as a medical doctor at Soba Hospital in Khartoum, before I joined the UN medical team. I don't want you to prove to me that you are a doctor. Every evil Jalabi Wad Haram man can get those medical certificates without knowing anything about medicine. I want you to prove to me that you are a Sudanese Christian man, and not an Arab Muslim man." Dr. Samir had suddenly remembered that every Coptic Christian loved to have a tattoo on his right hand made in the shape of the cross. He too had made one when he was a teenager. He felt as if such a realization was a divine revelation from God. Therefore, he revealed his right hand to the elderly man and shouted, "Look, my good father, here is my Christian cross." No Muslim man would make a cross in his hand. The elderly Muslim man looked at the cross, and then turned his face at the other 5 old men. Each one of them nodded his head in agreement, confirming the claim of the captive Christian man. "My brave boys, can you help this good Christian man to find his way back to the city? He had come all the way from Khartoum city to work in this war zone and treat our poor people. He had put his life in danger because of us," said the elderly man while some tears were falling from his small eyes. "Thank you, my good father," shouted Dr. Samir, and then held the right hand of the old man and kissed it. "Before you take him out of our village, give him food to eat, and let him spend the night in our hospitality." After that divine intervention and miraculous rescue, the fugitive Christian man Dr. Samir had been given a beautiful newly built hut. He had also been given food to eat and milk to drink. Beautiful young Darfurian girls had served him a good meal, and some of them had even massaged his body with perfume and oil as they usually do to the new groom on his first wedding night, when he was supposed to consummate his marriage with his virgin bride. While he was lying in a leather-made bed in his hut, Dr. Samir for the first time prayed to his Christian God from his heart and thanked him for protecting him. He felt that all his life he was doing things and trying to solve his problems without the help of God. Whenever he had a problem in the past, he always depended on his money and others to solve it, even if those helpers were gang members like Haber and his notorious gang. He never thought of asking God to solve his problems. When his beloved Muslim girlfriend Ibtihal fell victim in the hands of her evil blackmailer, the despicable psychiatrist Ismail, who raped and impregnated her, he ran to the ringleader Haber and asked him to solve the problem. Although the notorious criminal solved the problem of her blackmailing temporarily, in the end the matter was exposed, and his girlfriend was publicly disgraced. As a result, the matter ultimately led to the condemnation of his beloved princess. When his Muslim apostate girlfriend was condemned to death, he again ran to the notorious gang leader Haber and sought his help. Dr. Samir had no idea what that wrong move led to. His beloved apostate girlfriend was smuggled out of Sudan to Libya and finally ended in that young Arab women's shelter in Greece, where she was forced by her circumstances to pretend to be a Muslim girl. Eventually, she was arrested and accused as a Muslim terrorist girl in Athens, and presently she was facing a criminal charge which more serious than the one she faced in Sudan when she became a Muslim apostate. Lying in his bed in that remote Darfur village, the amazingly rescued Christian lover had promised God that he would never ever again run to the wrong people for help. Chapter 17. A terrorist attack by the Janjaweed, or the devils on horses. At dawn time, Dr. Samir's peaceful sleeping among those loving and hospitable for villagers was interrupted by the ear-deafening bombardments and explosions. He felt as if the entire Earth planet had exploded into a powerful volcano or a high-magnitude earthquake. In the twinkling of an eye, everything in his hut went into flames. The sound of continuous explosions did not stop for a second. As if the sky was raining down bombs in that remote village. Dr. Samir became extremely frightened, and his mind was confused. He didn't know what to do. He remembered the promise that he made with God last night, and therefore he uttered a two-word prayer. God's protection. After he made that short prayer, he began to think of his escape. When Dr. Samir emerged out of his burning hut, he saw the entire village was in flames. He saw some villagers come fleeing out of their burning huts with the flames of fire caught on their clothes. Some of them ran in circles and collided with each other and fell down. The old and young, men and women, and children and animals were all trying desperately to find an exit out of the huge flames of fire that were burning each and every hut. A few young men and girls had somehow managed to go out of the burning village, but suddenly they came running back inside the flames. Dr. Samir had become astonished when he saw people running out, and then swiftly coming back inside the burning village. He could not make out what had caused those poor villagers to return to the fire instead of fleeing for their lives. Even so, he had decided to make his exit out of the flames before it was too late. As soon as he emerged out of the village, he was showered by hundreds of live bullets, which forced him to retreat too. Then he understood why the villagers had preferred to be burned alive than be killed by the bullets of the Janjaweed. After that, the fugitive lover made another attempt of escaping in the opposite direction, but his escape was again frustrated when he saw the Janjaweed in that direction too. He concluded that the devils on horses laid a siege and surrounded the small village from all directions. Then Dr. Samir saw some villagers began to throw buckets of water on their burning huts. He joined them and began to put out the flames. The joint efforts of men, women, and children succeeded in putting off the flames on a small section of the village. All human beings, including the domestic animals, had gathered there and waited for God to decide what the Janjaweed were going to do to them when they came in. The waiting was long because the flames took a long time to consume all the remaining huts. When the fire died off because it had nothing left to consume, the black Arab devils on horses had come in. Some of them opened fire on the frightened villagers either for fun or for punishment, no one knows except God. Some people had been shot and dropped dead on the ground when those bullets hit them. Dr. Samir saw the Janjaweed dressed in that same fashion when he came across some of them the previous night. Those devils on horses looked different from the ones he met in the wilderness. He could see only horses and human-like shapes of creatures sitting on those animals. Their entire bodies were wrapped in black clothes. Dr. Samir had never seen demons before, but that day no one could convince him that those creatures riding on those horses weren't devils. He then understood why the fur people called them devils on horses. He did not need anyone to tell him how Satan would look like when he manifested himself in the form of a human being. He felt the presence of the evil one in that village. For the first time in his life, he found himself standing face to face with Satan and his devils. Meanwhile, the African villagers had become extremely frightened, like a horde of deer surrounded by voracious wild beasts. After that, the Janjaweed leader had passed the death sentence on every male villager who could carry a gun and fight as a rebel. Upon hearing his satanic order, the other Janjaweed had forced their way through the weeping women, screaming children, and pleading old men, and forcibly dragged out every young man and small boy they judged fit to be recruited as a rebel. Then those men and boys had been executed at the spot, through bullets fired from point-blank range in their heads. After that, the Janjaweed leader ordered that the young women and small girls were to be separated from the rest of the crowd and be distributed as slaves among his holy Muslim warriors or mujahideen. Those young women had begun to plead for mercy and begged for their purity and virginity. Despite their many tears and screaming, the young women and little girls had been torn apart from their mothers and grandmothers. After that, the devil incarnated, who was their human Lucifer, had given permission to his demons to search and loot the remaining possessions and wealth of the villagers that were buried under the debris. While some Janjaweed fighters were ransacking the burned-down huts, Dr. Samir began to see with his own eyes the other mujahideen had started to rape the frightened young women and underage girls. The sight of that mass raping was so brutal and sheer evil that Dr. Samir couldn't believe those Janjaweed were human beings. He had never expected one day he could see men were so devoid of any feelings of humanity and become like savages of the jungle. How could a grown-up man have a sexual desire for a female of 9 years of age and mercilessly would tear her tiny vagina until his victim's blood covered his underwear and smeared his large penis? Even if he used his knife and beheaded her, or used a sword and sawn her into 2 halves, he might not have given her so much pain as raping her at such a young age. When the killings, raping, and looting had finished, the Janjaweed left the remaining old men and women and their grandchildren to their fate and went. The fate of those abandoned villagers would be decided by luck and nature. After their village was burned down, their wealth and other possessions were looted, their sons and grandsons were killed in front of their eyes, their wives, daughters, and granddaughters were raped and taken as captive slaves. They had nothing left for them. They decided to begin their exodus out of Sudan, and hoped to survive until they could cross the border to Chad and join the refugee camps. That day, the leader of the Devils on Horses had first mistaken Dr. Samir for an agent of the West, or a spy for the UN who came to spy on the Sudanese civil war in Darfur province, and then draft negative reports about the jihad in western Sudan. The fugitive Christian lover's life once again was miraculously spared, when some of the Janjaweed informed their leader Lucifer that they met Dr. Samir the previous day, and recognized him as a Muslim brother like them. Those were the first devils on horses he encountered at the outskirts of the city while he was riding on a donkey, and they mistook him for a Muslim brother like them. Chapter 18. The Exodus of the Displaced Sudanese Refugees. Dr. Samir followed the grieved Darfurian villagers as they began to walk away from their destroyed village, leaving behind them the unburied bodies of their dear ones, their raped and taken away daughters, and the memories of their lives in Sudan. The villagers had nothing on them except their rags, which were hanging on their emaciated bodies. They had no water or food. They were burdened by the care of their children and old folks. In those miserable conditions, they had to make their hazardous trip out of their own country and go and seek refuge in a foreign land. Anything could happen to them on their way. They could starve to death or die of thirst. They could be attacked by wild beasts such as hyenas, foxes, and wolves, or bitten by venomous serpents or poisonous scorpions. Only the luckiest and fittest ones would make it all the way to Chad. They had to walk on foot for days and weeks. They had to eat and drink whatever they found in the wilderness. Dr. Samir stripped his Islamic clothes and put on some rags which he took from the dead body of a young man. He did not need his beard and turban anymore. He would rather prefer to die than put the clothes and beard of those murderous black African Arabs. He made a prayer and said to his God, "If you don't protect me for who I am, as a proud Christian man who neither hides his religion nor feels ashamed of his true identity as a follower of Christ, then don't save my life anymore." He blamed himself for standing by and watching those poor African people while they were being slaughtered like animals by those coward Arabs. He felt he should have at least killed one Janjaweed man while he was raping a child in front of her grandmothers and grandfathers. Before that day, Dr. Samir thought there was no one in the whole world who was abused and unjustly condemned more than his beloved Muslim apostate girlfriend Ibtihal. However, after he witnessed those mass killings and gang raping, he felt his beloved Muslim girlfriend had suffered nothing compared to those poor Darfurian young women and small underage girls. He grieved for them. He had nothing to offer them except his grief. He determined to reveal to the international media the brutal massacre and mass raping which he had witnessed by his own eyes as soon as God would help him to escape out of Sudan and take him to Chad. Every day, the displaced villagers were joined by other Darfurian villagers who likewise were attacked by the devils on horses and driven out of their burned-down villages. Therefore, the more they drew closer to the Chadian border, the more their number increased. Their movement was slow, and their progress was difficult. Every now and then they had to stop and bury the dead body of a child or an expired grandparent. They had to stop many times and search in the wilderness among the bushes for some eatable animals or grasses or roots to consume to quench their hunger. Their main problem was finding water. The evil militiamen of the Janjaweed warriors had filled most of the wells with dead bodies of murdered human beings and carcasses of animals. Consequently, the water of those wells became poisonous. Dr. Samir fell sick many times. He was robbed by those highway robbers of the camel men of all his medicines. Sometimes, he had to tell those villagers to leave him die in the wilderness and move forward. Despite his request, the old people always refused to let the women abandon him alone in the wilderness and go without him to the refugee camps in Chad. The elderly man who referred to him as a good Christian man and did not pass the death sentence on him, said to him once, "My son, You had come all the way from the capital city of Sudan, and left behind you your Christian family and comfort and wealth and came to save us from death. Then how could we leave you to die in the wilderness and go to Chad without you? Dr. Samir wept bitterly when he heard those loving words uttered by the wise old man. The fugitive Christian lover decided to do whatever he could to save the life of a dying child or stop a grandmother from passing away. He also many times helped them in digging graves and burying the dead bodies of their dear ones. In a short time, he became like them and one of them. Many days and weeks passed, and the masses of those displaced Muslim people continued to fight death and cleave to life until they crossed the Sudanese border and entered Chad. As soon as their feet had entered the Chadian soil, the UN medical teams received them with food and water and medical aids. Then they were given tents to live in. By then, half of those old men and women and children who left the doomed village had died. The fugitive Christian lover of Dr. Ibtihal was one of those fortunate survivors. He had also survived the deadly exodus and became a Sudanese refugee in Chad. Chapter 19. The sad news. Dr. Samir remained undercover for a while in the refugee camp in Chad. At first, he did not want to reveal his medical profession to the UN medical staff. When he witnessed the daily suffering of the sick and dying displaced Sudanese children and old men and women, the compassionate doctor could not control himself anymore. He felt he was indebted to those people for his life. If it weren't for them, he would have starved to death or died of thirst in the wilderness, and his dead corpse was eaten alive by some wild beasts. He recollected how those old men and women took care of him when he was sick, and didn't abandon him in that terrible wilderness. Dr. Samir finally approached the UN medical staff and revealed to them his medical profession. The medical staff members were amazed when they came to know that he was a specialized doctor. All the members of the medical teams were students from some Western countries who were still under training. Therefore, they welcomed him and appreciated his willingness to help at a difficult time like this. Dr. Samir began to work without pay. He was only working as a volunteer doctor. In a short time, he proved to the other medical members that he was a great asset and really of so much help in the refugee camp. Dr. Samir worked for a month in those miserable conditions where every hour a child died, and every day many refugees perished. The medical team worked day and night to save the lives of those precious souls. Being the only specialist, Dr. Samir's work was needed in more than one camp. A few times, he had been flown by helicopter to a neighboring village in Sudan, or Chad to rescue the lives of some dying villagers. Helping and rescuing the lives of those African refugees became the main concern to the beloved boyfriend of the Sudanese princess Ibtihal. Even so, Dr. Samir had never forgotten his beloved for a second. He was thinking his beloved girlfriend was in a safe and secure place. He knew she was a smart and bold girl. She would take care of herself for a while until he could render a little more service for the people who saved his life. In the meantime, the Sudanese refugee Samir Peter Deng could have filed his case to the office of the UN in Chad and obtained political asylum. Then he could have applied for resettlement in a Western country. Nonetheless, he chose to stay for a while and serve in those refugee camps. After that, he was planning to move to the capital city of Chad. When he reached N'Djamena, he was thinking to go to the main UN headquarters and apply for resettlement in Canada, America, New Zealand, or Australia. When his case was accepted, he would be granted emergency travel documents, then he could immigrate to one of those countries. As soon as he reached over there, he would try to find a way to contact his princess, Ibtihal. He could either bring her as his fiancée under a conjugal partner visa, or get the citizenship of that country, and then travel to Athens, marry his beloved girlfriend Ibtihal, and bring her through a spousal visa, and both lovers would live happily ever after. Dr. Samir was having all those wonderful plans and beautiful hopes in his mind while he was working in those refugee camps in Chad. He did not set a time limit or schedule for fulfilling his life dream of marrying his beloved girlfriend Ibtihal and spending their married life together happily ever after. He thought after he smuggled her to Europe, and after his escape from the land of the lover's abuse, persecution, and suffering, there was nothing to prevent them from living together forever and reaping the fruit of their genuine love in their promised Western country which flows with milk and honey. One day, while the refugee lover was resting in one of the medical clinic shacks and watching the BBC World News, he was frozen on his seat when his eyes had seen his beloved girlfriend Ibtihal among the 5 prime suspects in the recent terrorist attacks on Athens. It took a while for him to come out of that shock, which almost gave him a major heart attack. When the blood began to run in his veins and his brain functioned again, Dr. Samir could not believe his eyes. He thought he was either hallucinating or going through a horrifying nightmare. Everything around him revealed that he was neither daydreaming nor sleeping. His first reaction was that the suspected Muslim girl on the TV screen was not his beloved Muslim apostate girlfriend, Ibtihal Taha al-Amin. However, the more he had looked at her face, the more he was convinced she was his beloved princess, Ibtihal. Her unique beauty and innocent face had long ago been engrafted in his heart and planted in his mind. He knew God could not possibly create 2 lovely girls like Princess Ibtihal and then play tricks on him. Therefore, the girl on the TV is none other than the girl he loves with every tissue of his body, and many times he sucked the honey out of her sweet lips. Then Dr. Samir had remembered that a few days ago he read an article in a Chadian national newspaper issued from N'Djamena city that mentioned deadly terrorist attacks in Athens which resulted in the death of many innocent people. The newspaper mentioned that the cowardly terrorist attacks were carried out by some young Arab Muslim women from the Middle East and North Africa. At that time, he did not pay much attention to the news. He was used to hearing every now and then some terrorist attacks took place somewhere in the world. He believed there were more deaths and damages done in Sudan than in any place in the world at that time. But now, he had seen with his own eyes the photo of his beloved was displayed among those suspected young Arab girls. It disturbed his mind and troubled his heart. He could not believe for a second that his beloved Muslim apostate girl could ever think or do such an inhumane act of killing innocent people. What confused his mind more was the new name that was given to his beloved girlfriend. How could his beloved princess change her name from Ibtihal Taha al-Amin to Mastora al-Zubair al-Rashadia? Whatever the reason for changing her name didn't bother him much. What troubled him and turned his life upside down was the terrible terrorist charge laid on her. She is accused of participating in the cowardly terrorist attacks. Worse than anything, she is considered the prime suspect among the other detained Muslim girls. Chapter 20. Seeking the help of a European doctor. The life of the fugitive infidel Christian lover Samir of the apprehended Muslim apostate girl Ibtihal was turned into a living hell all over again. His life in the refugee camp in Chad had become worse than when he was living underground hiding from the police in Sudan. He could neither eat nor sleep from the time he watched the incredible shocking sad news on the TV. All the medical staff members had noticed the sudden change in his life. Dr. Samir had tried for 3 days to hide the disturbing news from his medical colleagues, but he could not. Finally, one doctor who was originally from Switzerland had spoken to him and tried to ascertain what was disturbing him. Dr. Samir, said the European Dr. Jen, we have noticed that there is something bothering you so much, but you haven't shared it with any one of us. Yes, there is an incredibly sad news that has happened to the dearest person in my life which is troubling my mind and torturing my heart, but no one of you can do anything to help me. At least tell us what it is. My girlfriend is falsely accused of carrying out terrorist attacks in the city of Athens. Oh my God. How did you come to know that? I saw her photo on the BBC World News 3 days ago. She was among the 5 prime suspects. You could be wrong. It might be a girl who looked like your girlfriend. I am sure she was my girlfriend. What are you going to do? I can do nothing to help her. As long as I am living as a refugee in this strange land, I am helpless. I have no passport. I cannot go to Athens without a passport and a visa. If you have a passport, what can you do by going to Greece? I am almost certain she is innocent. My girlfriend would never do something evil like that. She left her Islamic religion and became a Christian girl. How could she go back to Islam and do something terrible like what the news said my loving Sudanese girlfriend had done with other Muslim women? Only a heartless Muslim terrorist or an evil notorious criminal woman could think of killing innocent people. My beloved Ibtihal couldn't kill a cat. She wouldn't kill a dog even if it had attacked her. How can you prove she is innocent? You can't convince the Athenian police, because she is your girlfriend, that she must be innocent. Even her conversion to Christianity cannot clear her from such serious accusation. No one in the entire world can convince me my beloved girlfriend Ibtihal had involved herself with Muslim terrorists. Even if she says so, I won't believe her. I appreciate your trust in her, but facts before the law are stronger than words. Those Western police officers wouldn't have held a girl as a suspect unless they had some strong evidence against her. No, no, shouted Dr. Samir at Jen. In no uncertain terms, you can't convince me that my girlfriend had done such a dreadful act. I will kill myself if something like this turns out to be true. Ibtihal is innocent, and I am 100% sure about her innocence. Okay, dear, I am sorry, but what can you do? We have to do something. Dear Jen, among all the medical staff, I trust you the most. I need you to help me with this serious matter. I know you have an exceptionally large heart. I had seen those rivers of tears you were shedding every day for those dying refugees and their innocent children. I need you to stop my tears and the tears of my girlfriend too. If you do me this favor, I will be indebted to you all my life. I wish I can be of help to you, but I don't see I can do anything in this terrorist case. It is even dangerous to try to help someone accused of a terrorist act in the West. I am a European girl. I know how seriously the European police take such a charge. Even if a person had once contact with that suspect, he would be in a serious heap of trouble. It will be a wise thing to do is to deny that suspected Muslim girl was once your girlfriend. Please, Jen, I am begging you. I need you to help my girlfriend. I can do nothing because I have no passport. Even if I have a Sudanese passport, no European embassy will give me a visa to visit its country. You are a Swiss girl, and your passport can take you to any country in the world. Therefore, you can fly to Greece without a visa, but I can't go to Athens. If I could, I would have gone right now. Please believe me, Jen, my girlfriend Ibtihal is as good as you. She has a loving heart, and she is absolutely innocent of this malicious accusation. There must be some misunderstanding. I am very sure some people had falsely accused her and maliciously involved her. I repeat, I am 100% certain that my girlfriend Ibtihal has nothing to do with this hideous crime. Most probably, the Greek police confused her with someone else, or some wicked Muslims shifted the blame on her because they wanted to escape their due punishment. Okay, dear Samir, I give up. Tell me how I can help you. I want you to go to Athens and talk to her. Tell her that your lover Dr. Samir has sent me to you. I just want to listen to what she is going to say. I can't leave her in such a difficult time. Please, dear Jen, do this favor to me. I am begging you. I will be indebted to you all the rest of my life. Dr. Samir spoke those words while he was bitterly weeping. The Swiss doctor Jennifer came close to him and affectionately hugged him. Then she gave him her handkerchief. She waited until he stopped weeping. After that, she put her lips near his ear and said, I will go to her. Upon hearing such a promise, Dr. Samir embraced Dr. Jennifer and began to weep again. "Thank you so much, Jen. You are not a human being, but you are an angel sent down to earth to help those who are helpless." "I am not an angel. I am just a human being, but you must ask God to send me to Athens as an angel of hope to your girlfriend Ibtihal. I promise you, I will do whatever I can for you and her. Before you go, I will tell you everything I know about my beloved girlfriend Ibtihal. Please listen first to our love story, which I am going to tell you from the day I met her in the Soba Hospital in Khartoum City, where I was working as her senior doctor trainer, and fell in love with her until she left Islam and became a Christian girl. Because of her apostasy, she was arrested and condemned by the judge of the Sharia court as a Muslim apostate girl. Then he sentenced her to be hanged to death, and how God used me to rescue her while she was on her way to the gallows. I have some evidence that she had reached Greece and was living in Athens in a women's shelter for Muslim and Arab girls from the Middle East and North Africa.